The two-time Oscar winner spoke with Lee Cowan about the longevity of her career.
Amazing part of my life.
Hollywood has always expected its brightest stars to shine forever. But time, pressure, and the hidden weight of fame spare no one, not even legends. And at 61, Jodie Foster, one of cinema's most powerful voices and most gifted performers, stands at a crossroads few ever imagined. A two-time Academy Award winner, a prodigy who stunned the world as a child, and a woman who survived fame's harshest glare while others crumbled under it, is now quietly stepping back. No dramatic farewell tour, no teary press conference, just a soft, graceful exit from the spotlight she once dominated. For decades, she fought to protect her identity, her privacy, her sanity. She battled stereotypes, ageism, industry politics, and the suffocating judgment of the public eye. And now, the truth is quietly revealing itself. Jodie Foster is choosing peace over pressure, solitude over scrutiny, meaning over movies. But this isn't just a career turning point. It is the emotional unraveling of a story we were never meant to see. Behind the awards, behind the poise, behind the fierce intelligence that defined her, lies a woman tired of Hollywood's unforgiving clock, a woman who gave everything and paid a price the world never understood. Today, Jodie Foster isn't disappearing. She's letting go. And to witness this chapter is to understand what happens when a legend finally whispers goodbye. Not because she's finished, but because she's free. From the moment Jodie Foster first stepped in front of a camera, the world believed it owned her. A child genius, a prodigy, a rare spark destined for greatness, Hollywood did not simply welcome her, it claimed her. While most children played in backyards, Jodie stood under blinding studio lights, learning that applause was both a reward and a prison. Her breakout role in Taxi Driver was not just acting, it was immersion into a world far too dark for a young soul. She delivered brilliance, but the cost was innocence. Even then, the business was sculpting her, shaping her into something extraordinary and something fragile. With success came scrutiny. She was watched, judged, analyzed at every turn. Privacy became a myth. Childhood memories replaced by scripts, rehearsals, and expectations. Hollywood adored her talent, but ignored her humanity. She wasn't just a star. She was a symbol, a commodity, a face too valuable to ever rest, and with growing fame came danger. Fame does not attract admiration alone. It attracts obsession. A terrifying real-life incident tied to her fame nearly shattered her world. It forced her to build emotional walls stronger than steel, walls she would carry her entire life. Yet somehow she achieved what few could. She survived Hollywood as a child and returned as a powerful adult, director, producer, advocate, icon. She fought for roles that mattered, for stories with substance, for a place in an industry that rarely lets women over 40 breathe. But every battle leaves a mark. Every victory takes energy, and after decades of excellence, even warriors grow weary. Some stars burn out, others fade. Jodie Foster? She is choosing to step away before the light consumes her. In her 30s and 40s, Jodie Foster stood at the top of the industry, a powerhouse who had proven herself in every way. Critical acclaim, commercial success, the ability to direct, act, and command any room she entered. But while the world applauded her greatness, the industry quietly shifted beneath her feet. Hollywood isn't built to celebrate women as they evolve. It worships youth, then abandons it. And Jodie Foster, brilliant, bold, and unwilling to play the game, began to feel the slow, icy grip of that reality. When she hit her 40s, roles began to change. Not because her talent dimmed, but because Hollywood's lens narrowed. Scripts that once arrived in stacks became selective, cautious, and frustratingly predictable. She was no longer offered characters with fire, depth, and complexity. Instead, she saw the industry pushing mature women into the background. Mothers without stories, executives without souls, faces meant to stand beside younger leads, never in front of them. But Jodie Foster refused to shrink. She shifted her fight behind the camera, directing stories that mattered to her. There she found new power, a voice unfiltered by casting politics and beauty standards. And yet, even behind the camera, she felt the weight. Studios hesitated. Investors questioned. Hollywood sorely underestimated her. She wasn't being ignored, but she wasn't being embraced either. Meanwhile, life outside film grew louder. She became a mother. And motherhood for JODIE wasn't an accessory. It was a calling deeper than cinema. She poured herself into raising her children with the privacy and stability she herself never had. But balancing motherhood with fame came with sacrifices. Long breaks from acting, selective projects, a growing awareness that the industry moved on without waiting. Then came an even harder truth. Returning to Hollywood after stepping back is like walking into a party you once owned, only to realize everyone has forgotten you were the host. Younger stars took center stage. New directors shaped trends, and while JODIE never lost her brilliance, she felt the world's attention drift elsewhere. The industry that once relied on her charisma and intellect now valued algorithms and youth-driven casting. She was still respected, but no longer needed. And if Hollywood teaches anything, it's that respect without relevance is a silent heartbreak. But she didn't crumble. She evolved again, selectively choosing roles that carried message and weight. Women fighting injustice, women finding meaning, women rebuilding. Roles that mirrored her own journey. And yet, each time she returned, she carried the same question. At what point does fighting to stay become more exhausting than choosing to walk away? She watched peers struggle with the same dilemma. Some clawed for relevance. Some altered themselves to chase youth. Some spiraled under the pressure to remain perfect. But JODIE chose a different path. Dignity over desperation. Peace over performance. And quietly she began whispering to the world, through smaller roles, selective press, rare public appearances, that she didn't need the crown to feel complete anymore. She had earned her legacy. She didn't need to chase it. Hollywood didn't push her out. Life simply pulled her somewhere deeper. Leaving, for JODIE, isn't failure. It is wisdom. A woman who once carried the weight of fame on her young shoulders now chooses serenity over spotlight. And that choice, in a world obsessed with staying seen, is the bravest act of all. For the world, Jodie Foster has always been composed, elegant, brilliant, unshaken. A woman who never cracked under pressure, never courted chaos, never let Hollywood consume her spirit. But the truth beneath that calm surface is far more human and far more heartbreaking. Because the price of surviving fame isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, hidden in the pauses between public moments, in the solitude no one sees. Fame may have given Jodie Foster the world, but it also stole pieces of her life she could never reclaim. Even as she rose, she carried wounds Hollywood never apologized for: the invasion of privacy, the impossibility of anonymity, the pressure to be perfect at every age. She learned early that silence was protection, that privacy was power, but also that walls, once built, can become prisons. She spent years balancing who she was with who the world expected her to be. Every speech measured, every interview cautious, every step watched by millions who felt entitled not just to her talent, but to her personal truth. And that relentless scrutiny shapes a person. It teaches you to guard yourself, to trust few, to cherish quiet moments because they are rare and fragile. Behind the poise was a woman carrying decades of invisible armor that grew heavier as time passed. The emotional stamina required to stay relevant, respected, and untouched by scandal is a burden most stars cannot uphold. But she did, and it cost her. Relationships strained under secrecy and schedules. Friendships quieted as her life moved further from the ordinary. And even triumphs sometimes felt bittersweet, because success can be lonely when everyone sees your accomplishments. But few understand your fears. There were moments, even at the height of her fame, when she quietly stepped back, not out of choice, but survival. When the critics' voices grew louder than her own. When expectations felt suffocating. When she questioned whether brilliance was worth the bruises it left on her spirit. And then came aging, Hollywood's most unforgiving battlefield. Even for someone as accomplished as Jodie, growing older meant facing an industry that values novelty over legacy. Watching younger stars take the headlines she once filled, feeling the world shift without warning. It wasn't defeat she felt, it was realization. That peace, not applause, was what she had been searching for all along. So she began retreating into the places where life felt real. Quiet mornings, family moments, creative work that fed her soul instead of her fame. She became more selective, more intentional, more protective of her time, her heart, her identity. And as she did, something beautiful happened. She found freedom in letting go of the world that once defined her. This chapter isn't about loss. It's about evolution. A woman who once lived under the brightest spotlight now chooses soft light, gentle moments, honest living. After decades of being watched, she chooses to see herself clearly, not as Hollywood shaped her, but as she truly is. It's the quiet victory of someone who survived fame and still knows who she is, and that, more than any role or trophy, may be her greatest legacy. Today, at 61, Jodie Foster stands in a place few celebrities ever reach. Not at the top of Hollywood, but above it. She no longer fights to be seen. She no longer negotiates her worth. She has stepped away not in defeat, but in triumph, holding her narrative with the quiet strength she carried her entire life. Her days are no longer measured by call times, premiere schedules, and press cycles. Instead, they unfold in moments most people take for granted. Slow mornings, conversations without cameras, creativity without noise. She spends time as a mother first, an artist second, and only occasionally a public figure. She walks through life not as a character, not as an icon, but as Jodie, finally free to simply be. And yet, even distancing herself, her influence remains everywhere. In every actress who demands respect without apology, in every filmmaker who values truth over spectacle, in every young girl who sees power in intelligence and authenticity, not perfection. She didn't just succeed in Hollywood, she reshaped its possibilities. Legacy isn't only measured in awards, though she has them. It isn't only defined by unforgettable roles, though she gave us many. Legacy is the trail a person leaves in hearts and minds, and Jodie Foster leaves one that stretches far beyond screens. She proved that women can lead with intellect, that privacy is a right, not a weakness, that dignity can outlast fame, that aging isn't decline, it's evolution. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about her farewell is how gentle it is. No scandal, no collapse, no desperate grasp at relevance, just a graceful retreat into a life she always deserved but rarely had access to, a life built not on applause, but on meaning. In a world that rewards noise, she chose silence. In an industry obsessed with staying visible, she chose presence over performance. And in doing so, she taught us that leaving can be just as powerful as arriving. There will always be those who wish she stayed longer, who hoped for more films, more speeches, more brilliance on display. But true fans understand she gave enough. She gave more than enough. And now she gives herself what she once sacrificed for millions: time, peace, and space to breathe. When we look back at Jodie Foster's journey, we don't see an actress who faded. We see a woman who walked out on her own terms, a warrior who chose rest, a legend who chose life, a voice that chose silence, only because it finally felt safe to do so. And if one day she chooses to return, even briefly, the world will welcome her, not because it needs her, but because it misses her. Because some stars don't disappear. They simply shine where the world can't always see them. Jodie Foster didn't say goodbye to Hollywood because she was empty. She stepped away because she was finally full, and that is not tragedy. That is victory.